So I guess it's 9 o'clock. We'll get going here. Um, and hopefully, more and more people will be joining us. But we are going to talk about the magic of believing in yourself and how that can help with your mindset. Um, Believing in yourself is probably one of the number one things that you need to do in any kind of business, especially if you are an entrepreneur. So, being an entrepreneur, a lot of times you don't have, you know, people telling you what you need to do. And so, with the mindset of it, you have to believe that you have the confidence in yourself to be successful. And so how we'll start this off is I'm going to go through this PowerPoint, and if for it's an hour presentation, so what's possibly going to happen is we'll have to do a part two on this because I just don't want to speed through it. And so I really encourage you guys to take notes, take screenshots, and really just think about it. Think about the things that you're going to need when it comes to believing in yourself. Okay. So this picture is me, Barry Overton, and Dan Gomer, and we are the team leaders for Super Agents Collaborative with the Agent Collective. And so all of us are authors and all of us are motivational speakers. And so it does take a lot of confidence to be in our position. And so we're here to help you. We're here to challenge you. We're here to help you with anything that you have in that confidence and mindset aspect of things so that you can be successful. So if you think about it, we have approximately 90,000 thoughts a day. So think about that. As soon as you wake up in the morning, you're starting to think about things. Are you good enough? Um, does she like me? Oh my gosh, really bad hair day. I'm looking good in this dress. I wonder if he thinks that I'm too fat. I'll never be able to do that. There's these things, and these are thoughts. So I always say thoughts are things. And so what you really need to look at is when thoughts are things, things can be changed, right? So if they're only thoughts and thoughts can be changed, first you must be very aware of them. Okay, so non-consciously we are having thoughts coming in and out of our head all the time, right? Just over and over and over. And there's lots of thoughts that are actually in your head that have been programmed there since you were born. Okay, so we start having thoughts into our brain. And really, in order for you to become aware of them, you have to start to slow down. That's why, meditation is very good for you. Just being conscious of your breathing is very good because it makes you slow down. It makes you start thinking about, where did that thought come from? And so what happens is we create habits. And so if these are only thoughts and thoughts can be changed, if you become aware of them, you can actually start changing some of these thoughts. You can start changing the habits because think about it. Everything that we do in life, if you do it over and over and over and over, it becomes a habit, whether it's a bad habit or a good habit, right? So bad habits are things that we aren't really in control of. They're unconscious, and there's things that you might want to change about them. So, what we're going to do is talk about this. Talk about how thoughts lead to feelings, and then that leads to behaviors. Okay, so when you think about how can you change a behavior, is that a behavior that is a good behavior, or is that a behavior that it's a bad behavior? Okay. And you don't really have to say good or bad, but it's more of things that you might want to change that you aren't really happy about what you're doing. So that's why I think that it's very important to just look at those thoughts. Because if thoughts become feelings, that's how you feel about yourself. And then those feelings about yourself cause you to actually behave a certain way. So if you think about it, you'll have a thought like, I'm not good enough or smart enough to do my job very well. And then when you start having those thoughts of, I'm just not good enough, I'm not doing very well at this job, then that feeling turns into a sad or an angry feeling. Okay. And then that can lead to you saying, I'm worthless, I'm dumb, um, why am I so bad at this? And your mind is your worst critic. What happens is because it's programmed from a lot of things that you've had in the past, it goes into that part of your brain. It's like a non-conscious type of thing, and your brain will just send these feelings to you, or like I said, turns to thoughts, then turns to feelings, and it actually can make you feel a certain way. Have you ever had somebody say, you make me feel bad? Well, you aren't really making them feel bad. They're making themselves feel bad because nobody can make you do anything. Okay? So next time that comes up and you say, you make me feel bad about this, it's really them feeling bad, and then you're just being around that energy, and then you make yourself feel bad. So remember that next time when somebody says, you make me so angry. Well, sorry, you can turn back to them and said, you make yourself angry, actually. It's not me that's making you angry. Okay? So I want you to start thinking good thoughts. Okay? I'm doing the very best that I can at my job. And if you start thinking, do people like me and are they willing to help me? Just open that question up, right? Open that question up to, what kind of thoughts am I having around my job? Soon as you have those negative thoughts or those negative feelings about how you're doing, that feeling, I usually feel it in my gut. Okay, my gut is usually where if I feel up a tightness in my chest or my stomach starts to feel a certain way, I know that my feelings and my thoughts are causing this. So how can I change that? Start saying to yourself, I'm doing a great job. I am doing the best job that I possibly can. But are there other people out there that can help me do better? Because if you start shutting yourself down with the negative feelings and the negative mindset, then you also shut yourself down from other people trying to help you. Okay, so think about that. Well, now it's not going to the next screen. We're stuck. Oh, there we go. So we feel the way we think. And if you start believing that, if you know that the way you're thinking and that mindset that you have is causing you to feel a certain way, then you got to change it. Do you guys remember when you first started taking the real estate exam and you were like, man, this is a lot of stuff. And you started maybe negatively thinking you weren't going to get through it. And then maybe you just kept pushing through and kept saying, I can do this. And then you get to thinking, I got this. I got this. You start talking to yourself and you're like, I can do this. And then you pass the exam, the real estate exam. Didn't that make you feel great? Because that's what happens. When you think a certain way, it starts you to feel a certain way. and then that changes your behavior. Okay, so if you start really believing this, then every time you have a negative thought, you're going to start changing it, because you know that thoughts and words create actions, but you really got to start thinking about, how do I respond? How do I respond? Am I having this low self-esteem about myself, or do I have high self-esteem? So every time you start to think that you're criticizing yourself, or if you are around somebody that's actually criticizing you, you can actually switch it to a high self-esteem and say, you know what? I really love myself. I believe in myself. So why would I take what you're saying to me to heart? Because what happens is you will have people, I mean, it could be spouses, it could be parents, it could be your kids. You know, your kids, they feel bad about themselves, so they want you to feel bad. I've been there. And so it's going to be up to you about, how do you respond? You can respond with not letting it affect you, and just saying, you know, I don't believe that. I believe that I've got this, and I'm going to move forward with the way that I believe. That confidence is going to get you into a such better place. And when you have these thoughts, you know, you have to ask yourself, you know, what's running the show? That those belief systems, that's why I said that, you know, the name of this is believing in yourself. And there's all kinds of belief systems that come up, like we were talking earlier. They're part of your core. Some are unconscious. I want you to make them more conscious. And some are very transparent. And a lot of times you have to stop. You have to stop, breathe, think, and then move forwards. So think about those relationships that you have. What are those belief systems around it? When you think about money, what are your belief systems around money? Are they unconscious? Of course they are. There's a lot of unconscious thoughts that come into your head about money. And when you're thinking about yourself and your abilities, again, there's going to be a lot of unconscious things, a lot of in your core, and very transparent. A lot of times you can't see them. So I want you to become more conscious. And if we can be more conscious about them, those unconscious thoughts that we have, we can start reprogramming and reprogramming our mind, our belief systems about these things with health, the career, everything. Everything is based on a belief system. And so when you say positive affirmations, things that you can start saying to yourself, and filter your perception about them, then all of a sudden it's going to affect how you respond. Okay, so think about it. You see somebody says something to you, or you see something negative, you have to start filtering that perception of it. And then it will affect how you respond. If you respond, and it can be very, very difficult. If you've got people around you, I call them, energy vampires, because they're sort of like, every time I get around this person, I feel like they drain me. And I had to give up some really, I thought were great friendships, but I started feeling like one person, I started feeling so sick when I was in the car around her. She's driving and she's just complaining, and I was just starting to feel like physically sick. My stomach was getting upset. I started getting a headache. And I was like, this energy, she's just draining me. And I had to give up that relationship, because what was happening, it was making me feel bad. and it was affecting the way I started believing about things. And so sometimes you have to filter your perception about things and say, okay, maybe this person I don't need to be around anymore because I truly, am feeling things, and then it's causing me to feel this certain way. So when you affect your response, and I was very nice about it, wrote a nice letter and said, I'm sorry, but things aren't working out. It was almost like a divorce kind of thing. And so I want you to start looking at that kind of stuff. Start filtering your perception, look at others, events that might be happening around the world, and sometimes you just have to get away from things, meditate, and start working on yourself, right? And the low self-esteem part, when you look at yourself, you've got to start thinking that, you're the best thing that's happened since bread. Okay? Start thinking that you can do whatever your heart desires. Instead of looking at yourself, and mirror work is great. I've always done mirror work. It's an exercise. When you get up in the morning, and a lot of times you're tired, or you got to start your day, and you're like, you look in yourself in the mirror and like, oh my gosh, um, next time just smile at yourself, because a smile can change the energy. And tell yourself that you got this, right? Right before a listing consultation or right before a buyer consultation, look at yourself in the mirror in your car, and tell yourself, smile at yourself and say, I've got this. Okay. Or talk to yourself and say, you got this, right? Because what it can do to you is, again, change that mindset, change that energy. And when you go to meet somebody like a seller or a buyer, they feel that energy. They feel this confident person. And what do you think happens to their confidence if you're confident, right? If you have a higher self-esteem, they're going to have that same kind of feeling because it just rubs off. Um, Sorry, these are just examples of some low self-esteem from Wizard of Oz. But if you are aware of your thoughts and you say, where did that thought come from? How can I change that thought? Because again, they're programmed from years and years and years of your part of your brain. And even language, that's where language is stored in the left side of your brain, the left hemisphere. Math is stored there. The linear things are stored there. And so your right hemisphere is going to be more of the creative thoughts, the more positive thoughts. And so if you've got these thoughts that keep coming and you're like, where did that come from? It could have been something that somebody said when you were 5 years old, because it's still programmed in your brain. And so we have to start working on how to be more conscious of things. And then, instead of it being a bad, like I was saying, we really shouldn't say bad thoughts. We could just say, you know what? Thanks for the thought. And now you can go away. So talk to those thoughts. If it keeps popping up, just say, okay, I see you. Now you can go away. And that way it's more of a nicer energy thought. And then say, you know what, I'm gonna switch that thought, and don't blame, right? Don't blame, oh my gosh, that my mother used to say that to me so much. She used to tell me I was worthless. That's where it's coming from. Instead of saying things like that, it's like, how can I change that? How can I forgive and let it go? So here's a toolbox. I want you to start accepting who you are right here, right now. No blame, no hate. And while I was telling you about mirror work, it really does help to just say, I believe in myself. I'm okay. I've got this, and accept it who you are right now. Don't go back into the past, because the past is gone. It's really all it is now is just an illusion. When you bring past thoughts back up, they don't exist anymore. And in the future, don't put yourself too far into the future, because again, the future is not here. So you really want to start looking at where you are right now. And if you can live in that present moment, you'll have so much less stress. The present moment is the best place to always be. And another thing is, be dependent on yourself. And I know that we've got so many great people within our, the Agent Collective. I just love Jesse to death and everything that he's put together with the Agent Collective. And then I love, everybody within our group. And, you know, it's great to work with each other. But what I want you to do is start knowing that you've got this. All right. It's you, your business, your mindset. And when you have that mindset of, I really don't need others to make me feel this way, because a coach is great. I mean, but don't become dependent on the coach. All right. A coach and a trainer is fantastic, and they can get you going and they can help you, right? But it's still all going to be up to you. It's going to be, you need to be dependent on your thoughts and the things that help drive you. And also, don't compare yourself to other people. There's going to be people out there that have different kinds of traits than you, that different kinds of have been trained in something differently from you. Their life is different. So don't compare. When you look in the mirror, again, here's some mirror work, is how you see yourself, not how others see yourself. So again, we're our worst critic. And so I want you to, next time you're setting yourself up for something and you want to have a good outcome, again, look at yourself. How do you feel about yourself, and how can you change those thoughts about yourself? And I love this photo because babies are awesome. Kittens, dogs, baby animals, they always just love themselves so much until somebody tells them something that makes them feel different, right? Babies are so great. Babies will say, watch me, look how much, and up until they're 5 or 6, 7 years old, they are the best thing that's ever happened to themselves, right? And then they start having people tell themselves, other peers, teachers, parents, and then they start, that part of their brain starts working against them. So another thing is, distinguish between your behavior and who you really are. This is very important. You have a behavior, like we talked about in the very beginning. Your thoughts create feelings, and then your feelings create behavior. Okay? How is your behavior? What is it saying about you? And because if you are saying, again, negative things, or if you are allowing the world and the things that are going on in the world affecting your own behavior, you have to stop and think, I need to distinguish myself from this. I need to really look at, how is my behavior? How can I change it? How can I change these habits to make me somebody better and who I really am? And that takes believing in yourself. Okay? And quit saying should. Should is not a good word. Try to take should out of your vocabulary. And I'm sorry, some of you have heard me say this before. I say, quit shoulding on yourself. Because when you should on yourself, you're putting blame. Start saying, I could, or I can, or I am. Okay? And when you say, I should do this, or they should do this, what you're doing is, again, you're putting a blame feeling about it. Just switch it to I could or I can. All right. And then avoid the negative importance of a situation. All right. When you awfulize something, when you say, oh, the world's awful, or the climate's awful, or I feel awful, you're putting an energy around it. You're making your mindset into an awful situation. Okay. So again, try to change those feelings and then just take responsibility. It's so, that word response is built into this responsibility. And so remember earlier, I was like, how do you respond to something? Catch yourself next time. Okay, you're driving and somebody cuts you off. You know what? I just always smile and say, that person must be having a bad day. I'm not having a bad day. So that was fine. Let them go on. Instead of like this feeling of anger coming over you, take responsibility for who you are and for your life right now. And again, try not to worry. I love the book, The Answer. If you haven't read the book, The Answer by John Assaraf, the book is called How to Create Financial Freedom. And I've read it so many times. I've got references. The book is like a book that's got like all these highlighting and sticky notes in it. And so I encourage you to pick it up. John Assaraf was on the movie The Secret. He also owns, he's like the largest Remax dealer, or not dealer, brokerage owner. And so he's been in real estate for many, many years. I think he's going on 40 years in real estate. And so I really like the book in the aspect of where he started and becoming a multimillionaire in real estate. And it helps because you can see that mindset. You can see how he went from being in jail and then his story, how he met a realtor, successful realtor, and that successful realtor took him to the place, helped him. And one of the things he said was he had to quit worrying, because when you worry, it's a prayer for something that you don't want to happen. Because what you're doing is you're putting the energy around worry, and as you continue to worry, it causes more of that to happen for you, because the universe doesn't know the difference between something bad and something good. The universe just doesn't know that. So if you're putting that out there, that, oh my gosh, I'm not going to make my mortgage this month. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? I can't make my mortgage this month. Well, instead of something coming to you where you can make your mortgage payment, you're going to shut it off and not make your mortgage payment, because that's all you're doing is saying that over and over and over. And so your brain's like, just going to keep saying it and put that worry energy around you. And then if you turn it around with, I am making my mortgage payment this month. I know I'll make my mortgage this month. It's going to come. It's going to be there. Then you're opening yourself up to that energy, and somebody will help you, or you're going to get a listing, or you're going to get something's going to happen. So I just want you to totally believe in yourself. And this little comedy thing that I put here says, please don't tell me there's no need to worry. It's the only thing that I'm really good at. So many people that they live their lives in total worry. So really, happiness depends on you. That was Aristotle. Folks are about as happy as they make up their minds to be. That was Abraham Lincoln. The greatest revolution of our generation is the discovery that human beings, by changing the inner attitude of their mind, can change the outer aspects of their lives. Okay, so I want you to go today with this. Believe that you are, know that you are the best that you can do. Believe in yourself. And again, keep practicing, and you will start having that positive self-talk. You'll start using affirmations. Have a very active imagination, because your imagination is actually how you can visualize. And when you visualize, you start turning your inner wisdom, and it starts becoming and changing your outer world. Okay? The affirmations are present, positive. They create these new belief systems in ourselves. And I promise you'll have a hugely impactful future, because I see it every day. When I start my day with positive affirmations, and I say affirmations over and over and over, just imagine yourself responding more effectively to every situation that happens in your life. When something happens, just stop. If it's a negative thing that just happens to you, you're alive, you're okay. Even if somebody told you that you had cancer, there's different ways of it affecting you. And how are you going to respond to it? Again, imagination is more important than knowledge. And that was with Albert Einstein. So turn to your inner wisdom, listen to the silence. This is what I do every morning. Journal those thoughts, and you want them to be positive thoughts. You want to visualize, see good things happening. Nature is like one of the best things that you can do. Get out in nature, because nature doesn't have worry. Nature does it just happens. Things take care of themselves. And so if you can be, and we're a part of nature, right? We're human beings. And so if you start reading inspirational books, there's all kinds of ways that you can actually change your life. And when it comes to life purpose, you can either look at your job as you hate this job, you don't like what's happening, or you can have a smile on your face and say, you know what? I like my job. I believe in myself. I know I have this, and it will change. You're building a cathedral. You're building something amazing. You are helping so many people in this job. And so, again, it's going to be up to you how you believe things. And if you don't get a listing, don't worry about it. There's more. There's so much abundance. And that's why I always tell people, quit beating themselves up, do the best that you can, move on, leave that energy open. And I've had situations where I was like, I wish I had gotten that listing, and it started bugging me, and then I just had to let it go. And then literally within a few hours, I had somebody else call. Because if you shut yourself off from and have those negative feelings about it, you're shutting yourself off from anything good happening. So you guys, it's 9:30, and I'm going to get back. Actually, it's 9:34. So we're going to have to stop now. And what I was saying in the beginning is I'm going to have a part 2 on this. And I hope that you really enjoyed this today, because I truly believe that if you believe in yourself and you are constantly working on yourself with positive affirmations, positive feedback will happen. And so we'll pick this up and we'll do part 2. It'll be next month. And I hope you have the best week and the best mindset. All right. Bye, everybody.
If you'd like more information or to get connected to the Agent Power Huddle, join our free Facebook group. This call was designed for the agents in our EXP organization, but open to any agent from any brokerage. If you're a guest and you're interested in learning more about EXP or our specific resources within the Agent Collective, reach out to the person who invited you to this call to get more info. Produced by the Agent Collective Media Network.